put on. I used to do this every year at those conferences. I did take a break from this for a couple of years, and then I started I actually updated this this last year, end of last year in November, and I started offering them again. So by all means, you're welcome to record it and make it available to your office. We want people to. I mean, the goal is we want to help everybody grow their business, right? Because the more prosperous an agent is, the more prosperous we all are. So it's a good thing for everybody to know this stuff. So absolutely.
All right. Excellent. Well, I think we could probably get started. So everybody, I am so happy that we have Noel Nissen, who's the Manager of Technology and Learning and Development with RE/MAX here today. RE/MAX has taken over our big training opportunities, and to have a live person train us, as well as leveraging all of the RE/MAX University learning opportunities. We are just, very, very fortunate. So Noel is doing a session today on Google, getting it right with Google. And for those of you that are wondering, scratching your head going, am I doing this Google stuff right? Noel will answer some questions for us. I am delighted to have you again, Noel. And I think we still have one more session with you sometime next month.
We do.
So this is great. I'm super happy. I met Noel back in October at the broker owners meeting. And since then, we've been it's been nice because I know I can reach out and he's there. So it's been wonderful for that. So everybody, you're in for a real treat having Noel here. Please feel free to ask questions. The session is being recorded, so you can watch it afterwards. I'll tell you right now, Noel, that I do see several of my newer agents on, but I also see a lot of our top producers and strong agents on as well. So you've got a real mixed bag of tricks here. So welcome, everybody.
Great. Well, that's awesome to hear. We are really excited to, I'm really excited to share this with everybody. This is, as I was just mentioning a moment ago, I've been actually doing this for a long time. Just so you have a little bit of history, I actually have been involved personally in the development of over 14,000 websites. So I've been doing this a very long time. I'm a lot older than I look. People, I've been doing this with websites and things like that for the better part of 25 years. I've been involved directly in website development for many, many years. I actually started in advertising marketing, which is where I started my career. And I ended up moving into technology. So I ended up being the tech manager for RE/MAX in Western Canada for about 12 years. And as I was managing that, we developed and released basically twice 6,000 to 7,000 agent real estate websites for each of those. So twice we did that. Plus I had a bunch of website experience before that. So really when I'm talking about this, these are things that I have learned over the years in development as we've been doing this development, talking about these things. And we really want to make sure that I can pass that information along to you. Now, I have a lot in this presentation. There is a ton of information here. And we're not going to get through every slide that I have in this presentation. Okay, we're just not going to make it all the way through. But please do feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'll try to answer it the best that I can, keeping in mind that we have to keep it rolling and keep getting through some of these things. And so the way that I've organized this session is in sort of order of importance. One of the things that's really important to know is that there are over 200 different criteria that Google actually looks at to rank your website in the search results. And who could possibly keep track of all of that? Like, there's just no one who could actually keep track of all that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the ones that that sort of weight your website more heavily. We're going to use the things, or look at the things that actually have the greatest weight when it comes to ranking your website. There are things that used to be important, things like keywords, keywords in the back end of your website, where you'd put into the header, here's the keywords of what my website deals with. Those used to be important 15 years ago. right? And we have these things in our head that, oh, I've got to have these great keywords. Well, the thing is that keywords is actually changed now, and keywords isn't actually important in the header of your website. It's actually important in the content of your website. So we're going to go through some of these really interesting things that show us how to make sure that our website is going to rank higher. And by taking some of these principles that I'm going to walk through over the next little while, you should, if you take the time to work through this, you should be able to start building up your website presence on Google. Now, there is one caveat I want to state right off the bat. Okay, website developers, or actually, I guess two caveats here. Website developers, I'm just going to say it plainly. I need everybody to hear this exactly as it is. What you invest into your website is what you're going to get out of your website. All right. It's just like any other part of your business. The amount of time and money you put into your website is what you can expect to get out of your website. If you're only going to put in 10, 15 minutes a month into your website, expect to only get 10 or 15 minutes worth of business out of your website. If you're going to take time and dedicate time to your website every week, an hour every week, expect to get that investment back out of your website. Okay. And that's a really critical piece to this, because you need to be thinking about your website as part of your overall marketing. Like it's a part of overall marketing in your tool set. Everything that you're doing, your website has to be consistent with the rest of your business. So let's start walking through this a little bit. There's some important things here to keep in mind. So what is it that makes a website successful? I want to set some groundwork before we get into the individual things. The first things that you have to keep in mind, the things that make a website successful are things like web traffic, how many people are coming to the website, what they're doing, when they come in, what are they looking at, all those kinds of things. And then there's this separation, and we have been guilty in the real estate space. We have been very guilty of mixing these other two things up. On a website, we have something called conversions, and we have leads. All right. Now, leads are different than conversions. And a lot of people, and even some website developers, get this wrong. Some developers that you talk to get this wrong. They will say that a conversion is a lead, but it's not a lead. And we're going to explain sort of the difference as we go through this. But let's start talking about web traffic first. So what is web traffic? Well, web traffic really is just people coming to your website, if you think about it. And there's a couple of different parts of web traffic that you should be thinking about in how to advertise yourself and what you should be trying to do. So at first, you may need to look at something like paid advertising for your website, attracting people through paid clicks. If you've ever done a Google search for something, and you see at the top of the search results, there's one, the top maybe 4 or 5 results say ad next to them. Those are paid ads. They've paid to have their search results show up when somebody does a specific search on Google. But whereas there's organic traffic, which is people are coming to your website and Google is bringing your website up to the top because the content on your website shows Google that you know what you're talking about and you are the expert in that area for whatever it is that somebody's searching for. So you want to be thinking in terms of, how can I grow my organic traffic and spend less on my paid traffic? That's where you're going to be trying to take this. At first, you may need to spend some time on your paid traffic. In fact, mentioning that there was some, top producers here, probably a number of you have been using paid traffic to be able to drive some of these leads that you're able to start converting and start working with those people. So we want to talk about how can we grow that so that you don't have to spend as much money on your paid and you can spend more time on your organic. All right. So let's talk a little bit about these conversions. What are conversions? Okay, so conversion is when a consumer takes an action on your website. Now that can be any number of things. It could be they're filling out a form. It could be that you're sending them through to another page. It could be that you're sending them to a PDF, that they're downloading something, that it's a conversion is when the consumer comes to your site from their Google search, from whatever they're doing, they have landed on a page on your website and they have taken action on that page to do the next step. That's a conversion on the website. A conversion is something that you can measure through Google Analytics. It is not something that you're going to rely on as your business, what is actually helping your business. It's not going to be something you're going to be thinking about, okay, I've had this many conversions on my website. That means it's translated to this many dollars in my business. That's not how it works. A conversion is how long have you been able to engage this person and have you prompted them to take the next steps? What you're going to be thinking about in terms of your content on your website, you're going to be thinking in terms of basically, do you have good hooks in your content on your website to get that person to take that next step? And you can have good hooks and you can have bad hooks. You can have hooks that are saying, hey, I've got this content, will you visit me here? But here's a couple of examples of a good hook or a bad hook. A good hook: if you have a page on your website that says visit my social media, a good hook says here's what I have on my social media, reach out and connect with me on my Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. Now, a good hook would have here's the actual links to my various social media. A bad hook, on that page you would have a form for them to fill out. It's not going to be an effective hook, because you're telling them, hey, visit my social media, but then fill out this form. That doesn't work for people. Whereas if you put here's the links to my social media. Now that's a basic, simple version of that, but at least it gives you the idea of what I'm talking about. You want to make sure that whatever it is you're asking the consumer, the next step you're asking them to take, matches whatever page they're on at that moment, because you're going to be driving people from their Google searches to your page. You want to make sure that the next step that they take is relevant to where they were coming from and where you're taking them or where they want to go. So something to keep in mind. And those conversions that you're going to get are going to vary in quality. Some conversions are going to be people who are filling out the form. They're really interested in working with you. They want to know more about that particular property. But how many of you have ever had a website contact request or a request more information off of your website where they fill out the form? Of course, you being an excellent agent, the way that you are, you're going to respond to them right away and say, hey, thank you for reaching out about this particular listing. Here's all the information I have. Please don't hesitate to reach back out to me. And they never respond. Nothing ever happens with it, right? That's a conversion. It could potentially be a lead, but it's not necessarily a good conversion. It's not a high quality conversion. So you're going to be thinking in terms of what kind of quality are my conversions? And the thing that I want you to kind of walk away with is this. You want to increase the quality of those conversions as much as possible, but you're never going to get that to like 100%. You're going to try and make that conversion. And you're only going to do that by making sure that the content on your site really matches, really is relevant to what the next step is going to be. All right. Now, there will be some slow conversions. And so these are going to be things where they're going to be, it's going to take a while to incubate somebody. It's going to be a while before you get them to actually fill out the forms and get them to where they're going to go. And so you want to be thinking in terms of your content. And a lot of this presentation today is going to center around content on your website. I know a lot of you are going to think, I'm not a writer, I'm not a videographer, I'm not a video person, I can't do all of these things. And I'm just going to say this, absolutely you can. It doesn't have to be the most amazing thing in the world. It just has to be progress. It just has to be moving forward. Okay. You just have to be pushing forward to whatever you want. So I want to give you a few questions you can ask yourself about when people are coming to your website, are they doing the right thing? So the first thing you can ask yourself is, are we targeting the right demographics? This is one of the key pieces for me when I'm looking at a website, and I've actually consulted with a number of agents throughout the years, looking at their website, looking at what they've been creating, and I'm just going to make this. I want to be as plain as possible, so everybody can really kind of like make this as simple as you can kind of take it. If you are running a business, so everybody, all of you who have been in the business for any length of time, yes, there's a few newer agents, and you're going to discover this. Those of you who are newer to the industry, you're going to discover this over time. At first, when you sign up to be a real estate agent, you start working, your attitude is, I will sell real estate to everybody. I'll sell real estate to my dog if he's buying. Like, I will sell real estate to everybody. The thing is that after a little while, if you've been in this industry for a while, after a few years, you start to realize, you know what? I will absolutely still sell real estate to anybody, but I'm actually really way better with Generation X than I am with the millennials, or I'm way better with the millennials than I am with the baby boomers, or I'm way better with the soccer moms than I am with, the business guys. You're going to find that there are certain demographics that you connect with better. And the earlier you identify this in your career, the more successful you can be just in general in your business. because you start to understand who are my bread and butter, and you target everything, you build everything to work for those people who are your bread and butter. And then once you've got that nailed down and you're making good business from that group, then you start to expand out into the other areas that you're interested in working in. So the sooner you identify that, the better it is for your business, and you'll see your business start to grow based on that. But here's the thing: if you discover that in your business and you start realizing, you know what, I'm way better with the soccer moms than I am with the business guy, well, now all of a sudden you got to be thinking in terms of your website. How do I develop my website to be attractive to the soccer moms? How do I develop my website to be targeting the demographic or the people that I need to bring in to keep my bread and butter coming? That's where you're really going to be thinking about this, where you're going to be designing your website, what you're going to be doing. You want your website to focus on the primary group that is the people that drive your business. Okay, that's a really big thing. So who are your demographics? Are you targeting the right demographics? If you've got a website that looks awesome and that will attract all the millennials and all the millennials who've got this money that they're coming into from the baby boomers and that next generation that's going to be the richest, but that isn't your core business. Your core business is the soccer moms. Well, you're going to have a problem. And those people are going to come to your website. They're going to see a really cool looking website, but it's not going to be a website that they are interested in being in. And so they're going to leave right away and they're going to not come back. So who are you targeting? Are you targeting the right demographics for your business? Do you have the wrong calls to action? I mentioned that earlier a moment ago. You put your social media, hey, visit me on social media, but then you put a form for them to fill out or something like that. That's the wrong call to action. If you want to, you might be maybe something a little bit more on this. You have a page on your website that's supposed to be about a specific listing, but you have a PDF that you want them to download on that listing that is more about maybe the city itself rather than something that's in the local neighborhood. This is actually something we're going to talk about in a few minutes, is your local content. Local content is super important. If you've got a city, you've got a listing that's in a particular neighborhood and you're trying to promote the overall city rather than promoting the neighborhood itself, that's actually can be a wrong call to action. You're giving the wrong information, and you don't want to be giving the wrong information. You don't want to be asking somebody to do something that isn't relevant to what they're exactly on in the moment. So something to keep in mind. Are you targeting the right locations? Now, I'll give a couple of examples of this. And this is based on your sort of the advertising side of things as you start building out your advertising for your website, driving people to your website. If you are trying to target one neighborhood and you don't have the expertise in that neighborhood, but you are in another neighborhood, you need to take the time to make sure you're aware of what's going on in that other location, because you don't want to be driving people to a location that you are not an absolute expert on. And you don't want to be driving advertising to somewhere where your website doesn't have enough information about that particular thing. So let me give you an example. Let's see, where are we going here? I don't have an example on hand. I'm just going to pull up a map on my, let's just do this. I'm going to bring up actual Google here, and I'm going to pull up a map. And sorry, I've forgotten off the top of my head, which city are you guys specifically in? Because I think you guys are
Toronto,
in
downtown
Toronto,
Toronto, yeah.
Okay, we'll focus on Toronto then. We'll do that. So I'm going to bring up a map in Toronto. We're going to just take a look at this because I want you to see what I'm talking about and sort of get a feel for this. So I'm going to just bring up a map and let's take a look at the city. Okay, so you've got a number of areas in Toronto. I mean, this is a big city. You've got lots of places, and many of you are going to be all over this place. Some of you are going to be out in Mississauga. Some of you are going to be up in Richmond Hill. Some of you are going to be in various parts, and that's where you target your business. And because it's such a big area, you're not necessarily going to be looking at the entire city. Yes, of course you will, maybe some of you will drive out to Mississauga if you're going to be selling that area, but many of you are going to be like, well, you know what, I kind of work over here in Markham or something like that. For me to get to Mississauga is like an hour and a half. Like, I'm just going to refer that out to somebody over there. But if we dig in a little bit further on this, let's go a little further, because we have places like, you're going to be looking at very specific neighborhood areas. So I've got on here, we've got, Thornhill and Langstaff and Beverly Glen and stuff like that. So these are the areas that you're going to be, the neighborhoods where now, I don't really know Toronto so well, so I could be I could be targeting maybe not so nice areas of Toronto here. So let me know if I'm targeting the wrong area here, but I just want you to kind of see a example of what I'm trying to get at here. If you are targeting, if your bread and butter for your business is, let's say Beverly Glen, okay, this is where you're targeting, or these kind of areas right in here, then you should have content on your website that targets these specific areas. So you have landing pages on your site that are about these particular neighborhoods, and you need to make sure that your pages for these neighborhoods are filled out with as much relevant information about those neighborhoods as possible. So, and we'll talk about landing pages in a few minutes, but you should be highlighting things like not just the listings that are in those areas, but here's information about the neighborhood. What are some of the local amenities? What are some of the events coming up that are in that area? Can you have information that is relevant to that particular neighborhood? Because here's the thing, when a person goes onto Google and they start typing, hey, I'm looking for real estate, they start off with this. They start off with, I want homes for sale in Toronto. And when they do that Google search of homes for sale in Toronto, if I go homes for sale in Toronto, right? What do they get? They get literally everything. They get everything. And so this is going to have, I mean, the first, almost the, well, what, a whole bunch of the first page of the ads. There's a whole bunch of different pages, websites here that are on here. Remax.ca is in there. Is your website in here? Yeah, right. Because you've got all these big names who are focusing on this. They're looking at the entire city. Now, a consumer, they're going to look at this and they're going to be like, okay, that's great. And they start kind of clicking on the different things and they see, okay, well, here's Toronto. And then they start walking through all these listings. And they're like, wow, this is a lot of listings. This isn't exactly what I'm looking for. So they go back now and they start changing this and they go, well, okay, you know what? I'm not looking for really homes for sale. I'm actually looking for condos. So I'm going to look for condos for sale in Toronto. And they start doing that. Now, again, it's the same thing. They get everything. They get all the condos for sale. They get every website that says, hey, we got condos. Yeah, we got condos in Toronto. Here's all the condos in Toronto. And then they start realizing, okay, this is still way too much for what I'm looking for. Actually, you know what? What I'm thinking about is I like this area, Beverly Glen. And then they're going to start saying, okay, I want condos for sale in Beverly. Make sure I get this spelled right? And they're going to start narrowing down their search results, and it's going to start bringing them to pages that have to do with that particular place. Okay. And this is where your key is. This is where you're going to, if you can identify what are my target areas, what are my areas in Toronto that really, that's where I focus on, then you can start looking at this and going, okay, I'm going to have pages on my website. You are then at that point targeting the right locations of to where your business comes from and where you're trying to build your business. And now you can have pages that are relevant to that. So interesting little piece there that I wanted you to kind of get a feel for. It's important. We're going to cover a little bit, we're going to go through this a little bit more as we get through the session here today. Is your ad copy? Now, when you're actually creating Google ads and things like that, is the copy in your ad, the messaging, enticing the right people? This actually has to do with, are you targeting the right demographics? Are you having the right calls to action? Are you targeting the right locations? Is the information in the ad itself actually enticing the right people to your website? Like I said before, you can have a really awesome website that looks awesome, that the millennials will love, and you can have your ads set up to look really similar and it looks great, but is it bringing the right people to your website? Are you getting the right people? What do you need to change to make sure that you're getting the right people? Is the page copy speaking the right language? Is the people, when they land, they click on your ad, the Google ad, or when they do that Google search for, hey, I'm looking for this property, is the information that's being presented on the page, is it speaking the right language? Is it giving them the information that they are looking for? This is critical. And then are you communicating your difference as a real estate agent? Why would I choose you? If I'm a consumer, I land on your website, why would I choose you over the 2,000 other real estate agents that all serve that same area. What is it that sets you apart? What is making you, what's going to make me want to work with you? Why do I want to work with you? Now, some of these questions are going to be hard to think of answers for. Okay. I'm going to admit that fully. This is things you're going to have to take time to figure out for yourself, but figure them out. Take the time. Think about these things. What is it that sets you apart? Why should I choose you over anybody else that serves that area? And that's going to be a tough thing to think about. You might need to bring someone else in. You might need to talk to some of your past clients. You might need to say, why did you choose me over someone else? Like, why? And just get that feedback. Talk to people, see what it is that makes you different, and have your value proposition. Okay, let's talk about leads a little bit. This is important. Leads, again, we talked about conversions, we talked about web traffic, but we didn't really talk about leads themselves. Now, a lead is a website conversion. This is the actual definition. A lead is a website conversion that has intent. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that this person who filled out this form, they actually want information. They want to talk to you. They want information. They want to know. Now, this could be one of those people. Now, this is one of the greatest misconceptions in leads ever with people. Being real estate agents, what do? This is how we are. This is how we think. We get a lead on a website. So this person has filled out the form on our website. They're saying, hey, I'd like more information about this particular listing or this neighborhood or whatever it is. I'd like more information. We respond right away. We say, great, here's all the information I can give you. Here's all my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime you can. I'm going to just give you, I'd like to offer a little rabbit trail on guidance here, a little guidance for you. This is something I learned in advertising, something that you should think about in your marketing and just in your way. Actually, the way that you speak is incredibly important. The way that you say certain things is incredibly important. You want to avoid any sort of negative speaking in your talking to clients ever. And I'll give you an example of this. This is actually one of the biggest examples, and I hear this all the time. I hear this from people, professionals all the time, and it actually kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, because if they only knew what it actually does, if they knew the psychology behind this, here's the thing that happens. And this is something that I want to point out. There's a difference in between, if I say the words, feel free to reach out to me at any time, there's a difference from that to don't hesitate to reach out to me at any time. Do you understand the difference here? I'm saying feel free. I will never say don't hesitate to reach out. I don't like using those words. I don't like to say that, because when you say that, you're actually telling them that the key words in that sentence are hesitate, right? You're actually putting the idea in their mind of hesitation. Whereas when you say feel free to reach out anytime, you're actually telling them you're free. There is no hesitation. There's no anything there. Feel free to reach out. This little one tip can actually change the number of people that will actually respond to you. It's an interesting little thing. Just by changing this little thing, you want to avoid any kind of putting a negative word into their mind in anything that you're saying. Yes, the intent behind, don't hesitate to reach out is a good intent, but it is adding just that tiny little bit of doubt that they can actually get in touch with you. Whereas if you say feel free, it's going to give them that freedom, right? Okay, so now when a person calls you, or fills out the form, this lead comes to you, you receive this thing and you say, hey, here's all my information, here's all the listing information, here's all my contact information, please feel free to reach out to me and I will get back to you as soon as I can, right? So you're going to do that. Now that person does not respond right away. And so in our minds as agents, what do? We go, that was a bad lead. And we just give up on it immediately. Like we just give up on it right then and there. And we go, yeah, that was a bad lead. They didn't respond. So whatever, it's just whatever. Absolutely. The first thing that you should do is you should be saying to the person, you want to be prompting them. You want to be absolutely prompting them to respond to you. And you start off, here's all the listing information. Here's all my contact information. I would love to sign you up for my newsletter or for my drip campaigns or anything along those lines. Would it be all right with you if I put you on my drip campaign so I can start giving you listings that are similar to this one and whatnot? Because now you're actually putting it on them. They have to respond to you. They have to say, yes, please, or no, thank you. And if they say no, thank you, then you go, okay, what could I sign you up for? What can I do to get you the information that you need? right? We treat leads like we get this internet lead and we look at it, they didn't respond to all of our stuff and all of our, hey, I gave you this information. We as soon as they don't respond, we go, oh, well, that's a bad lead. But really, we should be looking at it going, okay, how can I prompt them to get back to me? How can I prompt them to respond to what I'm saying? And you want to be giving them, it's kind of like a one-sided conversation, right? You ever hear that idea of you want to ask open-ended questions? You want to ask questions where they have to respond with an actual answer rather than yep, nope, something like that. You want to start giving them that kind of a feed. You want to be feeding them, hey, what can I do to help you make this transaction? What can I do to help you get through this? So a lead is someone who has intent. Now, that might be intent for 2 years from now. How are you going to incubate them for 2 years? How are you going to get them to stick with you for 2 years? And this is something that I want to be, because this is important, an important part of your website. This is an important part. Your email campaigns, all of the things that you do should be always pointing back to your website, always pointing back to whatever it was that they were looking for, whatever it was. And that might take months, years to happen. I've actually spoken to people and doing trainings like this. I've spoken to people where they actually had a lead come in and they put them on an incubation program, not in terms of, hey, I'm just going to sign you up for my newsletter. Here's all the latest stuff. They actually took time, but it took them 4 years to convert that lead. But when they did, that person said to them, I'm never going with anyone else again because you gave me everything I need and I will always use you for my real estate agent. Like, because they took that time, they put them on that campaign. And I would just say this, think in terms of your incubation process, whatever that is for your business, think of it in terms of more than just a drip campaign. Okay. Just think of it in terms of more than just a drip campaign. All right. Incubate those good conversions, incubate them, take the time incubating them, look at what you can do. Make sure you're using your CRM, make sure you're using your email campaign manager, whatever that is. Down the road, sometime later this year, you're going to be getting access to this new tool that we have in Remax called Booge. And we want to make sure that you have the ability to use those particular things. And those things are going to have, it's going to have a CRM built in, it's going to have an email campaign manager that you can leverage. It even has websites that you can build out for yourself. So that's something that down the road, you're going to be able to do stuff like that. You should have those tools in place for yourself now. Okay. Regardless of Booge coming, you should have some tools in place for yourself to be able to incubate your leads. Okay. All right. I want to take a couple of minutes and talk about this. So there is a tool that you need to sign up for. If you do not have this already, you need to have Google My Business. Now, I've actually got one here. This was just Remax Millennium. It was just for another session that I was doing, but I want you to kind of see. I actually found very few. I have to use Remax Millennium because I couldn't find a lot of other Google business pages, which is absolutely terrible. You should have a Google My Business page for your business. Now, I'm not talking about for the brokerage. The brokerage needs to have its own Google My Business page. But you, as an agent selling real estate, you have a business. You are an independent contractor. You are selling real estate. And if you are selling real estate as an independent contractor, you have your own business, you need to have a Google My Business page so that when somebody does search results on the right-hand side of the page, they will see a page, something like this, a thing on the side that looks like this, and it will have, here's the picture of where your office is, here's where you are on the map, here's your business name and how to get in contact with you. It'll have your reviews, it'll have whatever else you have in there. It's incredibly important for you to have this Google My Business. You can just do a search for Google My Business, but what this does, it basically allows you to bring people that are looking for your business, they can now see who you are. They can see that right in the search results for you. All right. If I just see a comment here, if someone wants to make a move in the next 12 months, or they're only casually looking at the moment, what type of conversion should we have and what type of information should we be sending them? Okay, so if it were me selling real estate here in your area, and I get somebody who's looking for the move in the next 12 months, I would be making sure that I would first of all be asking them, what areas of town are you looking at? What are your areas of town? And then the way that I'm going to try and incubate them is I'm going to try and get as much information from them about what they're looking for as I possibly can. I'm not going to focus, honestly, I would not focus on how much they're willing to spend. Not at this point. I wouldn't be. I would probably assume based on the lead, like the lead that they sent in, that that's kind of around their budget, like what they're thinking. And so I would look at that listing and I would go, okay, I'm going to to get them in this. And then I say, what type of properties are you looking for? I would kind of make some assumptions. And then I would, again, prompt them. I would say, hey, can I get you signed up for, I'll send you an email every time a new listing comes out on this, with that kind of is similar to this particular listing. Can I get you on a drip campaign that will get you this information as much as possible so that you can, so that we can keep these listings coming to you. And when you're ready, then you can kind of, you've got the information that you need to be able to make an informed decision, those kinds of things. Here's some information about the neighborhoods that you've been looking at. Here's information about what the benefits and cons of each of those neighborhoods is. I would be focusing on that kind of information. What is the lifestyle in those areas? You know, what is the cost of living in those areas? Where, you know, what are the local amenities in those areas? I'd be focusing on that kind of information because no one else is giving them that information. Everyone else is just putting them on the newsletter drip campaign. That's all they're doing. And that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for the relevant information for what they're looking for. And if you're engaging with them correctly, they will respond to you and say, you know what, I don't really like this one very much. But I'd like this other area, and they'll kind of work that way. All right. So great question. All right. So I'm going to continue on here. So looking at, you've got Google My Business. Now, what you should be doing is you should be claiming your business on the Google page. You'll get this map marker for yourself, and you'll have this profile that shows up on the right side of the page. Now, there is one caveat to this, and I want everybody, I'm going to actually get you guys to do this. I'd like everybody right now, if you can, I would like you to turn on your cameras, and I want you to because I need everybody to see this. So go ahead and turn on your camera for me. If you're following along, I want everybody to give me a thumbs up when you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm watching your cameras. Go ahead and do it. I know everybody's like, no, I didn't do my hair this morning. I'm whatever. Don't worry about it. Okay, we're all good here. What I'd like you to do is this, because we're going to be, when you're signing up for Google My Business, okay, when you're signing up for Google My Business, there is one piece that I have to make sure everybody understands, because if you don't do this correctly, you're actually going to screw it up for the office. Okay, so this is what everybody has to do. Here's what I need you to do. When you're signing up for Google Business, if you already have Google Business, that's great. In the business name part, like, you're going to be filling out this form, making sure Google Business is set up. When you get to the business name, you are going to put in here your real estate business name. You are not going to put Remax Condos Plus. Okay. You are not.
Thank you. I
Okay.
had such a hard time with that, you guys.
Yes, this is absolutely critical. This can cost your office many hours of time. This can cost you many hours of time if you do this wrong. When you're signing up for Google Business, in the business information where it says business name, you put in your name. Even though you've just put in your name into the, like, about you and all that stuff, you put in your name into your name and whatever, you are going to put in your name. And if you have to have real estate or real estate team or whatever else it is on there, you're going to put in your marketing name, not Remax Condos Plus. So if you got that, just give me a thumbs up on the camera. I want to make sure, or if you're on the camera, you can put in your, do a reaction on there as well if you want, just to do that instead. But I want to make sure everybody understands this. By having Remax Condos Plus in there, it actually makes it a problem for everybody else. And when somebody does a search for Remax Condos Plus, they're going to get your name. But the problem is when they do a search for your name, they're not going to get you. And we don't want to see that happen. We want them to get you. Okay. So make sure you're putting your name in the business name and leaving Remax Condos Plus out of it. All right. All right. So you can turn off your cameras again. I just wanted to make sure everybody was getting that. I like to get it. I like this to be as engaging as possible so that everybody can kind of see what's going on. All right. I'm gonna just move this back over here so I can look at you guys. All right, there we go. So big, super important thing. And yeah, there are a few of you that'll do this, but it is really, really important. This is one of those things that can actually cause all kinds of problems. It actually hurts. If you put in Remax Condos Plus in here in the business name, it'll actually hurt your SEO for your website. A lot of people think that it's good because somebody types in, oh, I'm looking for the brokerage. Yeah, there will be some people who are looking for the brokerage and you'll get those, but you won't get the leads for yourself, the people looking for you. You won't get that. So make sure you've got the right thing in here. Your business name is actually your name, not Remax Condos Plus. All right, there you go. So talking a little bit more about this, boy, time is flying today. So we're going to just kind of work through this a little bit. So paid traffic, you can have those little ads on your website. okay, or on Google, and you can pay for those. Now you can do this through Google Ads. Like you can actually just do a search for Google Ads and you can start setting up your Google Ads. The big thing about paid traffic is like you'll always have your Google Ads showing at the top of the search results. We saw this when I did my search on Google, wherever that was here. When we did this search, you saw all the ads are at the top, right? And then you've got your stuff down here. Like these are the organic search results. But I want to talk about this for a moment because there are a significant number of consumers that when they see this ad, they don't trust it. They don't trust that this is actually relevant. And it's true because most people, when they do an ad like this, like for instance, if I did a search, if I created an ad for condos in Beverly Glen, well, what ends up happening is that if many of these pages, if I click on this, this is like overall Vaughan condos for sale. I don't want overall Vaughan condos for sale. I want condos for sale in Beverly Glen, right? And so when I click on this link, I'm going to see all listings for the entire city of Vaughan. I'm not going to see just narrowed down to Beverly Glen. So a lot of consumers, they'll see this ad and they won't trust this at all. They'll be like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. And I mean, this one here, Toronto on condos. I searched for condos in Beverly Glen. Why is it giving me everything from Toronto? I don't want condos, everything from Toronto. I made a very specific search, right? And so I won't trust a lot of these ads as a consumer, whereas I'll get down here, the very first result. I mean, this is not necessarily a Remax listing, but Point Two Homes, they got it right. They're like, okay, you asked for Beverly Glen. Let's give you condos in Beverly Glen. Okay. So that's something that I want to point out. So make sure that if you're using these ads, that you're pointing to the right thing and that you're looking at the ads in terms of, okay, I do sell condos in Beverly Glen. So I'm going to make sure I have a page on my website that's dedicated to condos in Beverly Glen. Our organic search results will always will always go below those paid ads. Paid ads can be useful as long as you target them correctly. Like I just showed you, you want to make sure you're targeting the correct thing. Then when you create your ads for those specific search results that people are going for, you're going to do pretty well. On organic traffic, how do you get consumers to your content without, like to your website without paying? So let's take a look at a couple of the different things here that you can do. Now, there's a number of different methods that you can use for this. The most important one is your content. What is your content? Does your content actually, is it relevant? Are you the expert in your marketplace? Okay, Google is looking at this. Google understands that you are a real estate agent, that you sell real estate, and it expects that your website is going to highlight that fact. It expects that you know your market. It expects that you understand what's going on in the markets that you service. And so it wants your website to reflect that. Okay, you need to make sure that the content on your website is exactly what your business is doing. So if you target, like primarily, if you are focusing on, let's go back to our map here and just make sure that everybody sees this. You know, if we're in Vaughan and we're looking at this here, we're looking at, you know, Beverly Glen, Thornhill, Langstaff, these are our primary areas where we're targeting our business, then Google is going to know that because Google knows everything, right? Like they know literally everything about you. They know where you are every day. They know that you're spending most of your time here, so that your website actually has to reflect, hey, I spend most of my time selling real estate in these areas. My website has to reflect that I am the expert in these areas. Okay, that's super critical. All right. Keywords. Now, I mentioned earlier that a lot of, like 15 years ago, keywords, you could just throw a set of keywords into your header in the code of your website, and that would be awesome. And Google would look at it and go, okay, your website's about these things. That is no longer the case. Most websites today, most developers won't even put keywords in the header of the website anymore because it doesn't make a difference. It makes such a small amount of difference that it's not worth the time to do it. And so keywords actually now need to be part of your overall content strategy. Okay. And so what I mean by this, if I'm selling listings in Beverly Glen, if I'm selling condos in Beverly Glen, well, much like the way that I'm using Point Two Homes as an example, or this is a real life example. If we were to go to this page and start looking at this, they've got the listings for Beverly Glen. How do you get past this? How do you do better on your search results? How do you do better on the search results than Point Two Homes and then in the natural things here? I don't want Point Two Homes to know where I'm coming from. All right. How do I do better in these search results in these organic search results than point to homes. If I were trying to set up a page on my website, I would actually create a landing page for condos in Beverly Glen. And how I would do this is at the top of my page, I would have, no, I'm not going to sign up for your thing here. I would actually have at the top of the page, before I even get listings in there, I would have, here's a picture of Beverly Glen, maybe some drone footage or something like that. Nice little thing going on the page. I would have some descriptive text about Beverly Glen as a neighborhood. Hey, here's what Beverly Glen is all about. Here's when it was founded. Here's how it works. Here's, whatever the case may be, the general information about that particular area. And I would include things like the average wage, the average age range. I'd include that demographic information in there so people get good information about what's going on in Beverly Glen. What is it? Then I would include listings. And then below the listings, I would actually have some information about Beverly Glen. Like, here are some of the local amenities. Here are some of the local businesses. Here are some of the interesting things that you should know. Here's the local parks. Here's whatever else. And I would make sure that my keywords about Beverly Glen's condos, Beverly Glen, homes for sale, whatever those keywords are, I would actually make sure that those are interspersed in the content that I'm writing, in those paragraphs that I'm saying, that it says condos, Beverly Glen, it says homes for sale, it says, some of the demographic information. Because then when somebody does a search on Google for condos in Beverly Glen, Google is going to look at it and they're going to say, okay, well, Point Two Homes, they have all the listings, all the condo listings for the area. So that's great. We're going to put them up high in the search results. But when Google's little search robots go by your website and they see that you have all the listings, but you also have some demographic information, you have some great descriptive text about what Beverly Glen is all about, plus you maybe have a video about Beverly Glen on your page, they're going to look at your page and go, well, you have way better content than Point Two Homes. Let's put you up at the top of the search results for Beverly Glen, because that you have better content and you've got better keywords and you've got the information that they're looking for. Video, I mentioned this just briefly. This is a really important thing. I highly recommend this. I very much recommend on every, first of all, on every listing that you create, you should be doing video for sure. Like I would say, do a video for every listing, but also for every neighborhood you're focusing on, make sure you're also doing a video for the neighborhood. So if you've got a landing page for a specific neighborhood, make sure you've got a video. That video could just be some generic drone footage. It could be some, my recommendation would be even better, have you walking down streets of those neighborhoods and actually describing the neighborhoods, what types of homes, these are mid-century modern, these are like whatever, just be describing it, and then have that video with your subtitles embedded in that page. It will absolutely kill your SEO. It'll absolutely, like, you'll kill it on SEO. You will absolutely skyrocket if you have video for all of your stuff. Reciprocal links. This is a really interesting thing as well. I mentioned on this landing page for this neighborhood, what are some of the local businesses in that neighborhood? Well, how about you go to those local businesses and say, listen, I've got my website. And if you can start building this out and you can start showing people that you're actually showing up higher on the search results, you can go into those businesses and say, listen, I am one of the premier agents selling real estate in this particular area. I would love to highlight you on my website. Would you be willing to put a link to me on your website? And now what you're doing is you're actually linking from your website to those local, hyper local businesses in those areas. And so when Google sees that you are actually connected to other businesses in those neighborhoods, Google looks at that and says, well, you are connected. You are absolutely a local expert because you're connected to those other people and they're connected back to you. So you actually, with the reciprocal links like this, you actually will grow your listing, like grow your website, but you'll also help grow those local businesses' websites as well. And as your website starts to get higher in the search results, you actually, it's sort of like a thing where you actually pull everyone else up with you as you start to grow. So fantastic way to help grow your business. The other piece that I want to do is reviews. Okay. I'm going to be very blunt here. I'm running out of time already. Like this hour is going by fast. I'm not even halfway through my slides here. So this is fantastic stuff. I told you we were going to get through everything, and that's good because there's a lot. Reviews. How many of you will read the reviews for a restaurant that you want to go to? Absolutely, we all do, right? We all do. So I'm going to be very blunt with everybody here. This is super important to understand. Today, especially, especially after the pandemic, especially during and after the pandemic. People were stuck at home. People are on their computer far more than anything else. They are far more on their computer than anywhere else. Computer, their phone, whatever device they have. Today, for real estate, if you do not have reviews, there are consumers that will not work with you because you don't have reviews. That is 100% accurate. It is true today. There are consumers today. And in fact, that number of consumers who will not work with an agent who does not have reviews is growing. Now, there will be lots of people who will be like, hey, this is a new agent. I'm curious. Let's give them a shot. And they'll give you a shot and they'll let, guaranteed, make sure you get a review. Make sure you get a review from that person. When should you get a review? Should you get a review once the transaction is closed?
After it goes firm.
Get a review as early in the process as you possibly can. Once an offer has been accepted, as soon when that person is so happy that they are so happy that this is working, that everything is moving the way that it should, get your review then. Don't wait till 2 weeks later after they've moved in and they start to see all the little cracks in the paint and start seeing that, oh, I've got to change the HVAC thing now, and oh, I've got to. Don't do it then. Do it as early in the process as possible. Then make sure that you're posting those reviews, having those reviews. My recommendation is use a third-party review service. Use something like Rank My Agent. I actually highly recommend Rank My Agent, not because Rank My Agent pays for anything. They don't pay us or anything like that. Rank My Agent is actually, a person cannot leave a review on Rank My Agent without there actually having been a transaction, which is fantastic. So they can't, let's just say like maybe one day I'm driving around in Toronto and I see Pamela, and Pamela's driving in front of me. She cuts me off by accident and I recognize her. I could go on Google and just leave a bad review for Pamela. I could be like, you know what? Pamela's the worst agent in the whole world. She tried, and I could just make stuff up. And Pamela has no idea where that comes from. And so now she has to do sort of damage control by responding and saying, yeah, well, I'm sorry. I don't know what this is about, what this is referring. I don't think I've ever actually sold you. Are you sure you have the right person or whatever? And there may be no recourse. I do actually recommend that you respond to every review. Every review. If you get a review, respond to it, even if it's a negative review. And don't be afraid of negative reviews. Don't be afraid of negative reviews. See, here's the thing. The majority of your transactions should be positive transactions. So reach out to that person, get a review as early as you can so that you get a whole bunch of positive reviews in your review thing. Then when you get a negative review, person's going to come on and say, hey, this transaction went horrible. It's terrible. This person's a terrible agent. What does that one negative review look like in amongst all the positive reviews? It looks like that guy was having a bad day. That's all it looks like. But make sure you have your reviews and connect those reviews to your website, because that will actually count as SEO power for you. All right, talking a little bit about this, content is absolutely the most important part. Am I safe to go for another 10 minutes? Is that okay with everybody? If you got to take, if you got to jump out after 10, I know it's it's 11 o'clock right now. So if you got to jump out, I won't be offended. Please feel free. But if I can go for another 10 minutes out, there's a couple things here I do want to talk about that are really, really important. So content is king on your website. It's the most important thing that you can do for your website. Content needs to be relevant. So it has to, like I said earlier, what are you building out for those particular neighborhoods, for those particular areas that you're targeting, your farm areas. Some of you have been in the market for a while and you've got actually a larger part of the city. I've mentioned here, focusing on those hyper local things. You are in a number of different neighborhoods. Make sure you're still setting up content, relevant content for individual neighborhoods. Don't just be thinking in terms of, well, I'm the premier agent for Toronto now, I'm just going to focus on Toronto. Don't do that. Still focus on that hyper local. You want that hyper local. Your content needs to be unique. It has to be your voice. Okay. Remember I said earlier, it's an investment. You don't feel like you're a writer. Absolutely. I understand that. However, your voice, you do have an opinion about where the market's going. You do have an understanding of what's going on in those markets. And if you have to just record a conversation you're having with somebody, just like seriously have a conversation about that particular market with somebody and just record it on your phone so that you can go back and listen to yourself and write down what you said. That's your unique content. Make sure that you are getting unique content onto your websites, content that no one else has. Be consistent with it. And when I say consistent, I'm in terms of timing. How often are you dealing with your website? How often are you updating your website? How often are you creating new content, releasing new content, updating the content, giving the latest, greatest, best? How often are you doing that? You have to be consistent, and it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be every week. It doesn't, if it goes to every month or every couple weeks or something like that, that's totally fine, as long as Google sees that you're being consistent with your content, that you're releasing something on a regular basis, and that it's fresh, interesting content. This is the hardest part of running a website. Guaranteed, this is the hardest part of running a website. If you're a part of a team, you're a team leader, I would recommend, if you're a team leader, get someone on your team who is good at writing content. Okay. And work with them on a weekly basis, or, every few days, sit down with them and go, okay, we want to start building content for this particular neighborhood. Here's the important parts that you need to know. Get them to write all that stuff out for you. If you're a single agent and you're doing this on your own, okay, here's my recommendation for you. If you're just a single doing this by yourself, you got to just focus on this. Take some of your time that you spend scrolling through Facebook and put it into creating content for yourself. Okay. 15 minutes a day. Just take 15 minutes, take an hour a week, whatever it is, but just take some time and start thinking, what is it that I need to do? What is the content that I need to have? How do I start building this out? My recommendation is to actually just start with broad strokes, broad topics. What is the content? Because you can actually, if you think in terms of, okay, my first topic that I'm going to start with on content is what's going to happen to interest rates over the next little while. What is my opinion on interest rates? Okay, well, what are my interest rates going to look like for homes that are in Beverly Glen? What are my interest rates going to look like for the other neighborhoods of Vaughan? What are the interests going to look like? And you can create then fresh content for each of those pages, just on that one broad stroke of what are interest rates going to do to the prices in these areas. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully that's making a little bit of sense. Okay. Make sure you have multiple types of content. Of course, there is things like written content. You want to have written content as much as possible, but you don't want long, boring ones. No one likes those stupid recipes where you go, I want to know how to make an apple pie. You open up the recipe and then it's like literally 5,000 words on. When I was a little kid, my mom used to have this example about such and such event that happened. And you start reading through this like, holy, just get to the stupid, you end up scrolling all the way down, right? No one wants the big, long, wordy thing. What you want is the short, concise, this is the information that you need to know about this particular neighborhood. Get that information on there. Video content, as I mentioned earlier, video is one of the most important things that you can put on your websites. And of course, imagery. The thing about pictures is that Google cannot see a picture. They know that a picture is there, but they do not know what the picture is. So use pictures in a way that people, like it's more for people. It's more for what people are doing. So use pictures that you show what it is that you're talking about, but then make sure that your content. So for instance, if you're talking about the home prices in the area, you can show a chart, show a graph that shows how prices have gone in the last year or whatever it is, but then make sure that you have a bit of text that talks about that particular chart, that explains what's happening on the chart. That way Google will look at it and go, okay, this is good content. You have pictures, you have written content about the pictures. There you go. That gives you what you need for your site. And then reviews. I mentioned earlier, make sure you have your reviews, make sure you put those on there and that you're linking to those on your website. Make sure that they are actually connected to your Google on that page on the side, right? Like if you set up your Google My Business, here's a little tip for you, a little trick for you that'll help you out. If you sign up for a program like Rank My Agent, which is actually every Remax agent gets a free account with Rank My Agent. If you sign up for that, sign up for Rank My Agent using the exact same email, the exact same business address, the exact same information on Rank My Agent that you did for your Google My Business. And when you sign up and start getting your reviews in Rank My Agent, your Rank My Agent reviews will actually show up on the Google search results when somebody searches for you. It'll show up in that little card on the side. So excellent little tip there for you. And then of course, make use of your social media. Social media is super important for people today. I'm going to just give you kind of a little tip here. Figure out, remember I mentioned earlier, targeting your demographics. And I think this is probably where we're going to sort of end off with this today, kind of this last couple points here. This is where we want to kind of take you. Your social media needs to be relevant to your demographics. We're just going to be straight up plain here, okay? If, Which social media, if you are an agent that is working with millennials primarily, which social media should you be on? Instagram, Snapchat, maybe TikTok. Okay. All right. If you are an agent who works primarily with business people, which should you be on? Facebook, LinkedIn. If you work with baby boomers, which one should you be on? Facebook. If you work with Generation X, which one should you be in? Which Facebook should you be on? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Here's the thing that is super important. Just because someone says you need to be on Twitter doesn't mean you need to be on Twitter. And if the primary group of your demographics, the primary people that you do business with are not on Twitter, why would you have a Twitter account? Don't do it. In fact, if your Twitter account is never getting updated, why would I follow you on Twitter? In fact, if you even have on your website, follow me on Twitter, and I go to your Twitter account and it has no posts since 2017, it makes me think you have no idea what you're doing on social media. Only focus on the social media where your clients are. And then when you get that dialed in and you want to start expanding out to other groups, then start exploring this space, the social media space, where those places are that you're trying to get into. So great little concept. All right. I want to just kind of leave this as your sort of what you're seeing there. Google needs to see you as your local expert. They need to see you as the expert in your neighborhood. They need to see you as that expert. They need to know that you know what you're talking about. All right. And that's using those landing pages I described. That is talking about your involvement in those communities. Hey, everybody, on your page for, Beverly Glen, you're going to have a notice on there. Hey, May Days is coming up. We're going to be in that park and we're going to be there with our tent and come and say hi. Have that on your page. Put that in your email campaigns. Link your email campaign back to the page for listings in Beverly Glen, right? That kind of stuff. Make sure that it sees you that way. What are some of the events that are coming up? Maybe that you are either, if you're involved in the community, involved in that or not. What are some of the events in that area that they need to know about? Basically, what you want is your website, your page for that neighborhood to be a neighborhood resource. You want people to go, oh yeah, just go to Pamela's website because she's got all this information on this page here. You know the lady that's on the bus benches? Go to her website. She's got all the information about what's going on in Beverly Glen. You want that. What is the city planning around those communities? It is amazing how few people actually put this content on their websites. What are some of the city's plans for the neighborhoods? What's going on? Go and attend those city council meetings, those city hall meetings. Find out what's happening. Get the recordings. Like they're all on Zoom now. Like it's easy to join them and listen in. And you can get the recordings and kind of go see what's going on. Highlight some of those local businesses. Who's in the area? Talk to them. See if you can get those reciprocal links back to you. And what's going on in the local market. So there you go. This is your sort of crash course into helping yourself grow on Google. I hope this gave you a whole bunch of really interesting information that can help you grow. We actually there's a lot more information. We kind of, in some of the other slides that I have here, just start to dig in, but I really hope you got a lot out of this today. If you have any questions about this, and if you'd like even just to talk to somebody about your website who has been doing this for a while, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to take a few minutes and just talk to you about your website. This is one of those things that we want to help you build out. And we want to make sure that you are going to be able to leverage your website in a way that actually helps build your business. So thank you so much for listening to me talk to you for an hour and 10 minutes. I hope you got lots out of it. I'm going to turn it back over to Pamela. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Noel. That was excellent. I see lots of comments, people saying how much they enjoyed it. While you were talking, I'm like, my Google business page, and sure enough, I looked and oh my goodness, I made that cardinal sin. So I've since corrected it. So I'm the kind of person that as soon as I learn something, I want to take immediate action on it so that I don't don't forget. So I hope for all of you that are still on the call, I know some of you had to drop, but I hope some of you go and take immediate action. What Noel shared with us was excellent and probably just what we needed right at the right time. So Noel, thank you very much. I don't know if anybody else had a comment before we say goodbye to everyone.
No, that was really great. That was very helpful. Thank you. And
Great.
everyone, set up your Google business. But I was reporting agents who used Remax because it was causing me a headache.
Yep.
So
I'm going to do everybody a little favor. I'm actually going to send Pamela and Jackie the actual entire presentation. Okay, the PowerPoint presentation that they can share with you, so you can see the rest of the slides and all the information that's on those slides, so you can help build yourself. So you can actually take this even further. There is a lot there, but I'd be happy to give you everybody the access to the presentation so you guys can.
And sorry, real quick, Noel. Someone was asking what the timeline for Bouge was. I know we had talked about it before everyone got on, but
you know what it means when a tech guy gives you a date, right?
Same thing when a builder gives us a pre-construction date. It's the same thing, people. We all know this.
Yeah, I will say this. So the goal right now is to release Bouge 4 or at the time latest version of what the tools are, end of Q2, early Q3 of this year. Okay. A large part of the work to make it work for Canada has been done because we've released it in Western Canada already, and it's been being done. However, there have been some bugs. There have been a few bugs that have taken priority over further development. And so that is kind of pushing back some of our timelines because we have to fix a couple of critical bugs before we can really start promoting it and making it. So I will make sure, when the time comes, I will actually be in Toronto around the time when it's time to launch Bouge, and we'll be doing some training for everybody in the area, either myself or my other trainer, Jeff. We should be there doing some training on getting everybody up to speed on how it works. We will be hosting Train the Trainer. We'll be training the brokerages and the office admin staff and stuff like that ahead of time so that they can help with the rollout and make sure that there's training. So when it comes time, there'll be lots available. Our target is end of Q2, early Q3. I'm guessing we're going to be in Q3 more than Q2, but we do have most of it done. And so there you go.
Excellent. Well, thank you again so much. I know you've probably got a really busy day preparing for R4 and the next few days. Again, I look forward to our next session together, and we'll be in touch regarding that other matter that we discussed. So, hey,
Absolutely.
everybody, we're signing off. Take care. If you have any other questions, please reach out to Jackie or myself.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.